learned from being a people pleaser. Lesson learned, lesson learned. So I want to talk quickly about the lessons that I've learned about, or things, the truth that I've discovered about being a people pleaser. In my life, I've lived in most time people pleasing. I've done it sometimes without knowing that I was doing it. Okay, I did it, and now where I am, I'm realizing a huge fact why I was actually, condoning people pleasing in my life. And I've come to realizing most part I did it, unconsciously, yes, and unaware of the consequences, how it was impacting my life. For example, by people pleasing, the consequences were that I was just having relationships that were based in codependence, where they were very conditional. If I am scratching your back, then you scratch my back kind of situation. And I was condoning an environment where unconditional love was never experienced, because my relationships were mainly based on conditions. I give you this, I get that. We're like exchanging the service, or yes, codependence. It's like I scratch your back, you scratch my back, and that's one consequence. And secondly, being a people pleaser also put me in a position where I cannot trust myself. I could never believe in self-reliance, because I felt most of the time, in order for myself to be myself, like to feel, in order for me to feel some kind of something good about myself, it has to be somehow connected with others. It's like I was never in a position where I saw myself doing things by myself alone and be good, and take the whole credit and be okay with it. It felt like, for me to, to produce something good, I needed to be connected with other people, with other situation. So that shows that I didn't have so much belief into my own creativity, my abilities. Thirdly, it entangles you to things that keeps you on a low vibration. Okay, people pleasing, it's all about security. It's all about survival. It's all about, can you see me? Can you hear me? Hear me out, It's all about feeling the need of fitting in, to belong, to be seen, to be loved. People pleasing, it's all about the sense of security. So you people please out of wanting to be safe, to feel secured. It's because you're feeling insecure about something. So some of the things that I have learned from people pleasing, once I became awakened to my truth, to my reality of what was going on, what was influencing me into doing people pleasing. What is it? Motives was all about. When it all came down to this sense of being insecure, feeling limited, feeling like unable, all this. Okay, so one thing that I've come to understand, the more I let go of the need to act impulsively so that I can be secure, the more I liberate, untangle myself from these patterns that leads me into creating the same results, or put me in a position where I am self-sabotaging myself, where I feel like I'm responsible for other people's happiness, where I have to do things even if I don't want to do them. But because I fear the worst scenario of being rejected, of being called names, of being pointed fingers at, of being blamed, just because I choose my own truth, I choose to be myself, I choose not to do things for to satisfy other people. Do you understand? It has been a journey for me to learn to really work with that, and also understand how it shows up, in situations, in relationships, and how this urge, what will trigger it, For example, if people leave things lying around and I'm there, I'll feel responsible that I must take care of everybody. If people are not happy with their lives and stuff, I feel like I'm the medicine for them to make them happy. If people, I was like a fixer, a peace creator, people where they can feel grounded, where they can feel like they're at home. I create sense of being loved unconditionally for people without, but I wasn't aware what I was doing. At the same time, I was also enabling people to continue with these kind of habits where people never realize, how they're using their own energy. I actually prevented that, thinking I was creating a sense of security. In the meantime, I was also creating a monster, because now people are going to depend on me. And when I do not perform out of their own expectation that I have actually continued to enforce in them, it becomes like now I have done something wrong. And I'm shocked out of my own creation, because I was not present. I was not conscious of what I was doing. I was doing things without being aware what are my intentions, my motives, what is actually pushing me to go and do everything, And now I find myself in a position where I do things because I honestly feel like doing it. And if I find anything that is sneaky about it, like I feel some kind of insecurity within me, or I'm insecure that this person is going to think like this, or they're gonna think, then that's when I cut it off. I cut it open. I'm like, okay, let's hold space for that. Let's be with that. Let's breathe through that. Let's not cover it up by clearing up this space, because if someone comes, they're going to react. Let's forget about that. Let's hold space for this, thought after. The afterthought that says, okay, if we don't do this, let's hold space for that. Let's be with it, And that's one thing I've been practicing. Let's be with that. What is it triggering? What is it reflecting to me? What is it saying to me when that thought of somebody else reacting because of what they've left, what they've created, expected, because I gave that expectation, right? How are they reacting? What is it that I'm blocking people from growing, from learning to be independent? I learned to understand that I'm blocking people from learning to be independent, to have that access to the sense of being having the sense of individuality, like being individual, independent and also self-reliant, which I was actually that's what I was actually preventing myself from learning. I was actually condoning codependence in my relationship. And I saw how in the end it was affecting, because in the end I felt like a victim, because now I was the one who was a doer, right? Out of wanting to feel secured. And it was not paying off because it was not reciprocated. And that will make me feel disappointed and resentful. And so I've learned to shift the mindset of wanting to create a scenario so that I can feel secured. Instead, I shifted inwards. When I feel triggered by the need to take control of the external world, of what is happening, that drives me to act from an impulsive point of seeing and wanting to have control over external things where I don't really have control. I have now come into the position where I use that as an invitation to go within me, to be with that triggered version of self that is overwhelmed by this anxiety attack of being in need to have control, because it doesn't want to feel the discomfort of seeing its own creation, because that's my creation. And I had to learn to take ownership, becoming responsible and accountable, acknowledge that I was playing a part and that's my part of creation, but it is based from a place of being conditional and induces codependence that in the end will render me feeling unfulfilled as a person. So if I want to feel content with my own actions and reasoning and way of seeing, I need to be present here. I need to feel what I'm feeling. I need to see what I'm seeing. I need to see my thought processes, the narratives, the stories, the motives behind my actions. I needed to be self-aware. I needed to learn that. I needed to be mindful. And the more I practice being mindful and self-awareness, and that's when I gain this stability in being in the present moment, where I feel empowered enough to hold space for the trigger that are being triggered by external situation that in the past will drive me into an action mode of covering up and having control of things, so that things are not going to, that everything is going to be fine. And now I'm like in a position, things can be fine or not fine. That is not my concern. It is not my focus in life to constantly on my toes trying to fix the world and wanting things to be in a certain way. That is not. I give up. I surrendered. I became aware of it and the impact of it in my life, and I was like, that's it. Because I can see how in the end I feel about it. It was not fulfilling me. So in the end, I, just continue to live in the present moment and become aware of this. And I act crazy in a sense, because now I do the opposite. I am